What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Childish. We are back at it again with yet another episode of Educate and Dominate, that one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names in the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest needs no introduction. He's been one of the longest moderators out there on the Reddit forums and the admin for one of the biggest IRC chats known to man. We got Cognix with Fury. How we doing, sir?
Hey, what's up? How's it
Oh,
going?
it is going good. For those that are not familiar with Cognix, he is running the show over there at Fury, which is another Guardian 3 top 10 guild on the global side. So super excited to have you on board, sir.
Yeah, nice to be here.
All right, all right. So let's get right into it, guys. We're going to be kind of focusing on Guild Wars for most of the video or most of the series, but we'll definitely talk about for those that are not familiar with Cognix. We'll go ahead and kind of catch you back up. Why don't you go ahead and fill us in on how you got into Summoners War, and
Mhm.
then just actually let's take it even back further. How you got into video gaming, and then work your way into Summoners War.
Yeah, so I've actually been playing video games since I was like 6 years old on those 8-inch floppy disks,
Ooh,
where you'd like, have 8 disks and you'd have to put in each one to load the next stage of the game.
you got it, baby. You got it.
But I think like my first major game was EverQuest.
Oh
So
man, yeah, I'm with you. That
yeah.
ruined my life.
Yeah, and I was in high school during the time, so I mean, we were raiding, and I was like a guild leader, and yeah, that was craziness. I actually can't do MMOs again after that game. Yeah. So and then I got into Summoners War just because a friend was playing it on the Metro, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I think it's been like a year and a half now since July 2014.
Yeah, June, July. They're right around there. Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. And then you got into Summoners War. You started playing the game. What got you into the Reddit forums and becoming one of the moderators out there?
I was always on Reddit, but I think actually one of the mods before me, Hellfeather, who's like I think an original mod of that channel, was a guildie of Fury, and I had contributed a lot and offering tips and like daily advice, like this thread here by Chunhua. Um, and actually, it was only 6 months ago that I was a moderator. So I needed help with the style sheets because if you remember, like 8 months ago, it was kind of ugly.
Right,
So
right, right.
so I went through and I changed like some of the style sheet code and some of the colors, and we have this like new banner on top, and we did the live sidebar, and I just try. I'm not a behavioral mod, so my focus is more on like presenting the content in usable ways.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
And for those that are not familiar with the website, if you scroll down as I'm doing right now here on the bottom right, you're going to be able to see all the moderators on this. You might even see, notice the Terraflux here was one of the moderators that I actually interviewed a while back. So this is our second one on board. Really cool, sir. There's always been some great, great stuff here, and I definitely love the daily advice thread. And then when we get the Hive information, especially for like details like that, it's been really, really cool to get them up to date. I actually got the 1.8.1 update details first from you guys versus somebody else. Like I found it through Reddit first, so it's pretty cool. You're really, really, really quick with the updates on the events and stuff like that.
Yeah, Raid used to do that, but now he got Vindicated, who's like really I don't even know how he finds them so quickly. He must have like a bot
He's
set up
sick.
to
He's sick.
sick, very
He's so
sick.
sick. Oh man! All right. So, in addition to what you do with Reddit forums, you also do a little bit of work on the IRC side. Some of these cats out there that are real young don't even know what IRC is. So, why don't you kind of fill them in and how you got up in that?
Yeah, okay. I guess IRC is like one of the oldest chat platforms out there. I mean, besides like AIM and like Yahoo chat, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so Fury actually started in the IRC chat. So that's why we're a community based guild. We didn't like recruit a bunch of OP Guardian 3 players. We all started as sort of noobs coming into the IRC asking questions.
Right.
And then we sort of built up a guild through just time and knowledge sharing, I guess.
Gotcha. And if I remember correctly, you are made up of two guilds, not just one, correct?
Yeah. We have two active guilds right now. I think a couple months ago we had up to four. It was like Fury or Fury Uriest and Fury something. Yeah.
All right. So, with regards to the guilds, there's a lot of content we want to go ahead and hit up. But before we get into the guild wars per se, there's a couple of things that we wanted to go ahead and kind of hit up and talk about with regards to the tips and tricks that you have learned and your guild has learned along the way, getting up into the Guardian 3 rank that you are today. Can you go ahead and enlighten us with some of those?
Yeah, sure. Let me just take a look at the guild, like Black Shadow War right now. So do you think, like pausing for a second here, do you think we should talk about like the overall spectrum of guilds, like Shadowvar, Shogun's top end guilds, or more like specific things about?
I would say probably focusing on the tips that kind of helped you out. I mean, if it's something that helped multiple guilds out, that's good. But the
Sure.
focus should be on you. This is your guys' video, so
Hmm.
I mean, again, whatever you want to do, but I'd love to keep it on you. You guys kind of showcase you guys,
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
and you just come in whenever you want to talk, and I'll just edit that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the best tip is probably to have three comfortable attacking teams that you're like really familiar with and you know exactly what they beat. Because I think a lot of us just kind of use the same exact team for 80% of our battles. And the reason for that is, you only have so many really OP runes, so you want to condense them into like the smallest amount of monsters possible. And to do that in Guild Wars, you really just need two or three solid attacking teams. And those can be really different. They can be like kind of YOLO Kali teams, which are meant to like one shot like a low HP target, or they can be kind of like sustainy, Eladriel Jolten teams, which are meant to, beat all these kind of Pernas and Theos even. And then you have like, I don't know, just having that core team that you always go to, I think is really important to find. And a lot of players haven't found that yet. Like they use random stuff that they think will counter, a specific unit on the defense, but then they're not really sure how the speeds interact, and they're not really sure how, how much ATB control they have, or things like that.
Yeah, I could definitely attest to that. The That's probably the one of the biggest things coming on board when we're trying to recruit people into Epic Fail Alpha. There's a lot of people that'll come our way, and I'm sure your way too, that might have the 50,000 6-star whatnot, but the runes are all spread apart. And we as people that have been playing this game since the beginning of time, right? We
Yep.
should be able to look at your assortment of units and
Mhm.
more or less see where the teams lie offensively
Yep.
or defensively due to the synergy of them, the
Yep.
speed seeking and whatnot. And I mean, if we can't see that, if that's not clear as day, then we
Mhm.
know something's a little bit off. Synergy is just too important not to not make it a vital part of your success there. So for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. We have a couple people with like one Nat 5 or maybe two Nat 5s and they don't use the other one. But they still get the job done because they use their Nat 4s or Nat 3s or whatever to like really high efficiency. So I think it's just about finding that niche that your monsters hold.
Definitely. And right before we go into the next one for Guild Wars, I was wondering if you could take a step back to go ahead and do a quick little unit showcase on the latest and greatest here with Ryan. It just came out on the Hall of Heroes. We don't have a lot of people out there,
Yeah.
6-star in units, so I wanted to go ahead and take a look at that here. What's your thoughts so far? It looks like you've got a really nice.
Check out his
S-
skills too. They're maxed, I think.
yeah, yeah, you definitely maxed them out here. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great, actually. I love him so far. I had a feeling he would be really strong when I saw the Hall of Heroes come out. Um, and I know a lot of people are on the Trevor hype train, but Ryan throws out like 4 to 5 dots with just 2 turns. And he has a self attack buff and a self armor break and anti heal. So he's like everything. He's like an Orion almost in one unit, like a DPS unit. So I use him a lot for N10 actually, my auto N10 runs.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming you're putting the runes that you have available right now. Would you consider? I'm assuming that you're looking to probably go with the violent approach later on down the road, or
Yeah, yeah. So I have like 7 violent runes in storage right now, so I need to I need to switch him out with like Lagma or something. Because yeah, I'll definitely be going violent revenge on all my N10 monsters next rune removal.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, was there any other tips you had
Mhm.
in store that you wanted to hit up before we go on
Yeah.
to the next question?
No, not really.
Okay,
Can
cool.
say one.
Because the one thing that really stuck to me when we talked about it on the side was the topic of ranking.
Yep.
When it comes to Guild Wars and whatnot, there's a lot of people that'll look at it and talk about rank one this, rank five that, or whatnot.
Yeah.
As you guys can see right here, they are holding it down at the legendary rank right now. But
Right now.
right in your opinion though, ranking you have a different perspective on the ranking, and
Yeah.
so can you kind of talk about that and what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've I've talked about Guild War rankings so much because it's really like a broken system, and there's a lot of reasons why. So, first of all, we're rank one now, which is really bad. And anyone who's in the like top 50 and has been rank one knows that you're never going to keep rank one unless you save 6 swords and spend on Saturday, and then maybe you might get rank one. But there's two problems with rank one: is that anyone you fight only gives you a low amount of points, and anyone who fights you gets a much greater amount of points. So uh, I think that's the problem. But really, it's a game design problem, and the reason is that Com2 uses an elo system to rank guilds, which is basically a matchmaking system that gives and takes points away to the winner and the loser respectively. But the problem with that is Guild Wars is too small to have an elo system. So we get 12 swords every week, but we're not matched with 12 opponents that can hit us. We're matched with 5 or 25, which totally breaks down the elo system. And for an elo system to work, you need multiple chances to climb. You can't just have 12 basically, which is why arena works, because you get 10 swords every, I don't know, 6 hours or something,
Correct.
and you can climb like you're refreshing and refreshing. But with Guild Wars, it's way too slow for an elo system. I think they should have implemented like a tournament system where you're matched with 12 people, 12 guilds, and like as you climb the ladder, you're sort of grouped into Fury should only be fighting like the top 15 guilds really. Like there's no reason why we should be matched with someone who ends like rank 88 during the week. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things wrong with it.
Gotcha. And with regards to I know that some people, I know that we've used it on the back end a few weeks back. Manipulating your how do I say this? Your when you finish your fights, and sometimes people are real quick to click the victory button when in all
Yeah.
reality, because of the fact that the ratio of points you get is based on the current
Yep.
enemy's points. It seems like if you wait it out and the person that you fought that you won ends
Hmm.
up winning a fight or two of their own, you can
Yep.
essentially gain more points because their rank went up while you were waiting on the 12-hour time span. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the top guilds talk to each other, so we kind of have an idea about when we're starting and when we're finishing. Plus, you can kind of tell just from the logs. Um, that is like a tactic, but it doesn't always play out the way you want it to. I think the more important thing for like the top 50 guilds is this sort of claiming victory right before the tally on Saturday night, which is like it's actually a pretty big problem. I think a couple weeks ago. So Fury has been um, mistallied like 5 weeks in a row. I don't know if you remember that week where guilds were dropping to like rank 700 and rank 300, and
Yeah,
it was just craziness.
it
So
was gross.
yeah, it was because Com2 was taking the defense losses like way after the tallies. So you were essentially losing minus 15 for every defense loss when you should have been losing, like 10 or 7 or 5 or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy. And then with regards to some things that you and your guild have learned, or the community of guilds that you learned along the way. What would you say are some of the veteran mistakes that players make or guilds make when trying to improve their rank or trying to climb up, to the Guardian 3 ranks?
Hmm. I'd say recruitment is a big part of it actually. Um, 'Cause when I recruit, I look, like you said, I look at runes and I try to see like teams that they have and if they've really committed to even small details like maxing 135 runes. Maybe not plus 15, but if it's like a really good HP rune that's, slot 5 and it's, it hasn't been plus 12 at least, you can kind of tell that the recruit is not going to be so strong. I think also recruiting people who have experience in the top 50 is really valuable because I would totally choose someone who had like 10 6 stars but was in a top guild and had experience fighting those guilds rather than, someone with 40 nat 5s with rainbow runes all over.
Yeah. Yeah. For the record, that is the sexiest rune, though, man. I just want to let you know right there. I can't get enough of that. Wait, what we talking about? What we talking about, Cognix? Getting those 135 maxed out. What's up with that, baby?
Yeah, yeah. And also, I get a lot of I get a lot of flack for 4 star runes actually because I don't have like a 5 star or a 5 slot Swift for Bernard, so might as well throw that on.
It's all good, man. Everybody has that random like 4 star rune that has some double digit speed or double
Yeah,
percentage
like
hit point.
12.
Everyone has it. They don't want to admit it, but they got it. So I'm
Yeah.
just giving you a hard time, but no doubt, no doubt. But yeah, that is something else. I'm telling you, the synergy of these teams and these units, got to get it down here. Got to get it down. Let me see here. I think that was we got definitely a lot more units to go, but we'll go ahead and jump onto that at the very end here. Let's go ahead and hop on over to the guild team. Some of the teams that have been set up from your guys' top guild, Fury. We'll
Sure.
be right back. All right, and we're back here. So first one up, we got ourselves. I want to say Verkans.
Yeah,
How you pronounce?
Vertans, or
Verkans.
we call him Verk.
Verk. All
Like,
right, all right. So yeah,
um,
tell me a little bit about these compositions and why you think they are one of your strongest setups in your group.
yeah. So I'm glad we're doing this first because Fury isn't known for having like one of the best defenses. Like out of the maybe top 15 guilds, we don't have malicious level defenses, but this guy has one of our best, and it's kind of obvious because he has Quadam and Iona here, and he also has Eladriel like in his kit, which is just ridiculous. But I think this first one is perfect for Theo. There's like not a better composition you can have with Theo. And I
Right.
think one of these guys are will ruined, so there's really not much you can do to completely counter this one, which is great. It's kind of about RNG. It's about if you can take down the Huaran before Chasen heals him, and yeah, I really love this one. If we have a lot of screenshots too of like his defense wins actually.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think um, the second one is, in my opinion, I would totally hit this one. Um, I think what makes it scary is that his Ritesh just, probably gets like 3 or 4 violent procs in a turn, and then something's armor broken, and then Baramos can kind of clean up.
There's nothing worse than having a Ritesh use his AoE skill and then get that violent proc one time to get that secure that kill.
That one little hit,
That
yeah.
one hit, oh, it gets you every time. It gets you every time.
And Iona makes it so that you have to kind of bring some removal or ignore defense here, which is really hard versus like a super tanky, Vero Ritesh team. So yeah, I like this guy. Yeah, he knows what's going on.
Yeah, buddy. All right, let's see what we got here. Next one up, we got is it Gustin's Tall? Gustin's
Yeah,
Tall?
Gus. Yeah, he's
Gus.
a Twitch streamer as well, I think.
Oh, all right, all right.
Um, yeah, so this one is really about one-shotting something. The first one, at least. Um, I think that Orion is like 220 or 230 violent. So it's really just about trying to one-shot whatever unit they bring, which is going to be like I don't know, a Theo, a Chloe, and like another support healer or something like that. And the second one is kind of I actually don't like Veramos on defense. It's like a pet peeve of mine. I think people with Veramos on defense are kind of gimping themselves. I realize he's like a great core bread and butter unit, but uh, he only has like a 30k, maybe 32k HP, which leaves you completely open to Kali. And Kali's like a huge attacker right now in top end guild wars. And Veramos is never going to not be one shot by Kali. So this team here is great, is okay because Eladriel can kind of res Veramos, but then his FMK can also be like one shot by Kali. So he's kind of always going to be like 2v3. So I guess I'm criticizing this defense a little bit because it's open to Kali, and I think it's also potentially open to like Tessarion or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, maybe this is me too. I don't want to criticize here too, but when I think about the Fire Monkey King not being able to get any kind of like CC effect, and then Eladriel, which is generally spec with a high resistance, it's almost like since those statistics are so strong, it's not you almost don't even need the immunity or the cleansing part. You could probably find a little bit more value in another unit that
Yep.
synergizes well with it, but then
Yeah.
again, like you were saying, if that's his best, unit and whatnot, as far as his choices, then that's the way to go. You got to put those best units in there. So
Yeah. I mean, Veramos is like just almost there to like being great on defense, but I really think he's kind of a liability because he also just he lets you choose easy units for his defense because you can bring light, you can bring dark, and then for the other one, you have all your wind and water and fire left over to do whatever they want. So
yeah, and when you say 32K, we're talking about 32K after all the buffs and towers are considered. There's so many people out there that are throwing Vermoses in their teams and don't realize that if they're not taking the opportunity to max out their towers on both ends, their Vermos can be one shot by just about any decent
yeah,
damage dealer on a defense broken
yeah, because
straight.
his defense base stats are pretty low. So yeah, it doesn't even have to be Kali. It can just be like an Ethna or a Teshar or anything that can kind of one shot something. So
Yeah.
not a big fan of Vero. But he does have his uses in some comps, I think. Like the previous one with Iona and Ritesh. I think that one's really good.
Gotcha. And with regards to this first setup here, what's your thoughts? I mean, I've seen a couple of people do it. I don't know if I was a big fan of it, but considering that Orion is typically set up in a fast space, fast kind of style, and the Chloe style, do you ever, or do you know if Gustan ever notices any kind of issue when it comes to, like utilizing Orion, but then kind of blowing through? I'm not sure if he waits one turn to
Hmm.
use his Chloe
Hmm.
um, and then puts up the fanatic, or does he put the fanatic up and then Orion? You know what I'm saying? I think there's like
Yeah.
a defensively he can't control it, but offensively does it work out to where he can use Orion and then fanatic, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think this one is built that Orion is huh. Because he has like two Chloes, so I don't know which this one
Oh, he got a
could
special Chloe. I
be.
got you.
Yeah. I know the Orion is around 220, 230, and I think it's supposed to go first. So it's yeah.
It would make sense if he's rocking like a violent Chloe or something like that, and his Orion was a faster one. Then at
Mhm.
least Chloe, if Chloe's going to be the one to go after Orion, then she can for that fanatic whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, she sort of protects Escher for one turn.
right,
I'm also not a big fan of Escher on defenses anymore.
Gusta, we love you. I swear, Gus, we love you. One time,
I mean, okay, so Escher is slow and his defense is really low. So even
right?
though he has like let's say 40k HP, maybe 45 with his lead and towers, you armor break him and everything's gonna hit him for like 17k or 20k. So it's like while he has a ton of HP, he doesn't have like real tankiness.
Yeah,
So I'm like really not a fan of slow Eschers. I think Eschers should be like super fast, high damage, and kind of go for the YOLO kill style.
Gotcha. Yep, yep, yep. Cool. All right. Let me see what we got next up here. Tetras in the house.
Mhm. Yeah, one of our more successful defenses as well. For some reason, people get rocked by Vero, Bella, Kumar, and I don't understand it. But even in our guild, people lose to the second defense. I think the first one I'll talk about in a bit. But since I'm still on this Vero train, um,
Right, right, right.
you can just one shot the Vero here. And I know I'm like giving secret strats away about his defense, but really, like if you have a Kali, if you have something that can do 35k, then it's gone, you know, and all he has is Ritesh and I'm sorry, Kumar and Bella, which doesn't do anything.
Gotcha.
Uh,
And are we talking about like 35k when we're using a unit that ignores defense, or are we talking just
yeah.
35k straight up?
I mean, 35k. However, yeah, ignoring defense or just armor broken
Okay.
followed by yeah, because
Okay.
Kali actually our best Kalis do around almost 40k.
Gotcha. Because I know you made the comment about Veramos' defenses, but I could have swore he was like one of the ones that actually had like one of the top amount of defenses for out there, like 715 or something. I don't remember off the top of my head, but if we're talking about ignore defense by far, yeah, he's not gonna hang in there at all.
Yeah,
So
one defense break on Vero, or an ignore defense unit, or like you bring like a OP light or dark damage dealer, which there are a ton, and you know he's gone. So I think people lose to violent procs on this one. It's kind of just like okay, I'm relying on violent RNG, but
yeah.
yeah,
And then this first one here, it definitely doesn't need any introduction. It's kind of standard. Just kill it down, knock it out for the good
yeah,
stuff here. So.
yeah,
All right. So yeah, the and the right team too. I use the same thing, but I use Sandra in it, and it gets the job done. It gives me a lot of wins too, so I like it.
yeah.
I personally like the. I personally would like the Kumar over Chandra. The hug is so exploitable when it comes to the unit provided it or whatnot. It's not based on like a conditional stat. It just
Mhm.
casts it whenever it feels like it. So at least
Yeah,
Kumar
yes.
heals when you're like down low hit points, so it's
I
more
think
reliable.
Chandra's great on offense, though. I
Oh
would
yeah.
love because that hug is super OP.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right, this is definitely one of my favorite teams that I saw. Looking at the pictures here, we got ourselves Spooky.
Yep, this is a kind of a new member, and I haven't put her on defense yet, but I will this upcoming Monday. And the first one is really cool because um, Beta is really fast, and she buffs with the anti crit buff, right, and immunity. So she's like a Chloe without the invincibility and just the anti crit. And I think, yeah, she's also a buff remover, if I remember correctly, on her auto attack. So this one is kind of meant to stall for a couple turns and then get past the burst or shields or whatever they bring and sort of one-shot something. So I like it. I think it's also a speed perner too. So this defense is like really, really fast and
Right.
like deadly with a couple reses built in.
Yep,
So
for sure.
yeah. And then the second one is cookie cutter, which is, in my opinion, this defense is pretty okay for maybe just getting some violent RNG, but I would hit that second one any day. It's the first one that I would probably have to think about more. Uh,
Right. Yeah, pretty standard. We see it a lot, and people use it. But if they're getting the defensive wins, I guess for them that's the best way to go. So
yeah.
cool. All right, let's see what we got here. Nitwits. All right.
Yeah, so this is like a good example of I love Nit. He doesn't have like super OP nat fives, and he doesn't like he just doesn't have like a huge massive kit of like Pernas and Zyroses and stuff. But he makes do and he attacks really well. So this first one is cool because it's sort of a play on the Vero Bella Verd defenses, but instead of the ATB you get from Bella, he replaces it with like an AOE cleanse healer, which is super annoying because the usually the way to kill like a Vero Bella comp is to kind of mix in some utility control, like dots or armor break or slows or stuns. And she removes stuns. So if he gets like a sort of good violent uh, rhythm, then it does really well.
Yep. And I know that there's not going to be a lot of people out there, or whatnot, but you got a couple of people out there that are fortunate enough to pull Annabelle and Vertihill and fuse the Veramos here. When it
Yeah.
comes to the particular role of Annabelle, a lot of people love the violent set, but if you got yourself a unit that's going to be providing a lot of attack H boost, do you
Mhm.
like a violent set as the best one for this particular situation, or could you find more value in bringing like a despair set and having two AoE stunners here? What do you think?
Um, I think no. I think violent on the O-Girls is so key because their one acts pretty much like Orion's one, right? It gives you the resets, and
Right.
then which in turn resets the violent counter. So if you get a reset on sleep, then you also get a reset on your violent counters during your turn. So um, I know from his offenses, I know he can sleep like three targets in one turn. So plus despair is kind of wasted when she does her heal.
Right.
And if she sleeps a unit, it's already stunned. So
Yep. Yep. For sure. Cool.
yeah. And then the second one is, he always says he doesn't have a lot of great attacking monsters, but this one gets quite a few wins as well because you know uh, I don't know if your viewers know, but this second one, Gorgo, does like a huge amount of damage and has a huge amount of utility built into him. And actually, I made one as well um, because Malphage had one.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, the users know because Malphedge,
Yeah.
we brought him on board with a previous Educate and Dominate. We talked about this particular unit. Well, yeah, very very strong. And then I love him using the Chloe composition versus any other healer. I mean, or any other like a chest and any other healer that's based on their own max HP. I like the combination of healers that provide heals based on the max HP on the HP heavy units. We see a lot of people out there that are pairing up, units like the ones on the left here with like a Chasoon, and they're wondering why
Yeah,
they can't keep their units alive. So
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, this one, they're all, I think they're all violent actually. So if he can armor break something, it's probably going to die and, get a couple of violent procs off. Plus, Jolten stuns on his two and Gorgo stuns on his three. So you got two forms of CC built in and, two really hard hitting HP tanks with an armor break and a healer and immunity. And I think it's really good.
yep, I like it. All right, cool. Let's go on to the next one. We got ourselves. I can't pronounce that. Cakesy.
Yeah. I think he changes his like quite often because he has like both FMK, or he has like the Wind Monkey King and the Fire Monkey King and a bunch of OP stuff. But this one is probably the most successful, at least this week. Um, yeah, so the first one is pretty straightforward. There's two armor breakers, two healers. They're all really fast, and especially when Ritesh gets that double hit with his speed buff. Um, yeah, that one's just like another sort of nuke one unit and hope you can 3v2 the rest through heals and pace, right?
Yep, yep.
And then the second one is, I think it's just okay because I don't want to give away like every secret thing, but the Wind Monkey King has like a specific rune set that would not let him die so easily because I think a lot of people could potentially bomb this one. Like I would look at this and say, okay, I'm going to bring my Dark Joker, uh, Chloe, and an attack buffer like Kona or Chasun.
Right.
But yeah, that won't work. So I think it's good, um, especially if he gets a lot of turns off.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, he's an amazing unit on defense. No questions asked. A lot of decent builds. We see a lot in the top ranks with people, building them a little bit more on the tankier side. Of course, we're not going to disclose this particular person's setup, but obviously, there's many, many ways to build this unit. So, if you guys haven't had an opportunity to see the endless possibilities of the Wind Monkey, definitely on the end of Arena Reset Day, definitely make sure you're checking into the Guardian 2, Guardian 3 players and seeing if they got a Wind Monkey King. See how they utilize it in their setups, and maybe you can kind of figure out a way to kind of make it synergize with your team for sure.
Yeah, I would love to see actually not Chasun here, but sort of another threat. Because usually when you have Wind Monkey King out, you want to have another threat so that the opponent has to sort of choose between focusing down this like revenge stunner or focusing down like the other damage threat. Because here you just kind of focus,
Yeah,
the Wind King. So.
gotcha. All right, and again, I am horrible with names, so I'm gonna butcher. I don't want to butcher it.
I think it's Tycon.
Tycon. Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I wanted to show this one because it's Vero Bellaverde, and I really hate Vero Bellaverde because I think it's bad. Of course, the only person who can really pull it off is Burke because his units are all like nearly over 220. I think. I don't even think he uses this guild defense anymore. It's been a while.
Right.
Uh, for those who do have Vero Bellaverde, I think it's okay, but if you have either unit under 200 speed, it's not really great. It's like not. It's a free win basically because I think it's been months since I've ever lost to one of these because I just bring Joltan, which a lot of people have. I mean, he's a free unit from the Halloween event, um, last Halloween, and all you have to do is bring Joltan and maybe a couple waters or like an immunity buffer or even a couple healers, and Verd will just kill himself on Joltan. You know, you either so my personal comp is Joltan, Wusa, Mihail. So the Dark Werewolf and the Water Pioneer and the Light Sylphid, which I know is like a really OP team, but you can just bring Joltan and like a water healer like Kona, or uh, I don't know, even Orion or Ariel if you have him, and suddenly Verd is deleted because he keeps hitting Jolton, and the other ones are just they do nothing by themselves. So not a big fan.
Cool. And what's your thoughts on this second team here?
Yeah, that one's good. I think that's a violent Draco, so I prefer violent Dracos to Despair, and yeah, I guess it's just a solid Theo team. Like all these cookie cutter Theo teams are pretty solid.
Gotcha. And in this situation, he's going with like you said, he's going with a violent Draco over despair. A lot of people use Draco, right? We all got Draco in the HOH. So if we're talking about optimizing Draco for Guild Wars, right? Why do
Mhm.
you feel? I mean, we all know the strength of violent, but why do you feel violent is a better choice at the end of the day when it comes to that particular instead of like a despair set on this particular one?
Yeah, well, this specific team doesn't have removal, so Despair gets wasted a lot because if you're going to use him as an immunity buffer who's Despair, you kind of want him, you need that Despair for him to be semi offensive, right? But if he's violent and you have a Theo there with Chasun, the whole point of this defense is to keep Theo alive and immunized and speedy, right? So you want to armor break with Draco, you want immunity, you want ATB, you want him to get a lot of resets. And I think that for this specific composition, it's just better. Yeah, now, if you had like a Draco Praha and another like a Ritesh or damage dealy tank, then I think Despair might work because if you have a cleanser like a buff stripper and followed up by like a Draco AoE, I think that's great. But for this particular like single target damage defense, Violent is probably better.
Gotcha. Yeah, I actually use that same composition, but I use Orion instead of a Draco, and I love it. It's
Yep.
constantly going crazy. Use it for offense, kind of like what you were saying early on with regards to your 2 to 3 main teams. I know we actually had a subscriber comment to me. It's like your Guild Wars is getting a little bit boring, and I'm like, it's the end of the week, boss. I'm trying to make sure we secure that G3 up
Yeah.
in there, and we got to use the teams that bring us the win. So It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I use this specific team right here on the screen for I'd say 80% of my guild battles, and sometimes I don't even change them because it doesn't really matter what the units are since it's all water and light and dark. Um, yeah, I guess this is mine. I don't really know what to say about mine. It's always hardest to like review yourself.
Right, right, right. Well, as
Uh,
long as you got yourself the wins, then that's all that matters. I like both setups. The interesting one here, you see it time and time and again, where people are looking at here and they're like, well, where's your damage dealer, bro? So why don't you talk a little bit about? Because to me, out of both of these, I find your second one, for me, is a little bit more unique and interesting, and that's the kind of ones we want to showcase in this. So even though there's no true damage, with the exception of his second skill on Jultan, why do you feel that this one is just so strong compared to your other compositions?
Yeah, so I've tried two compositions with Jolten, and both of them use Praha or Orion. So uh, I think Jolten synergizes with Orion really, really well. Just because in Jolten you have a speed lead, obviously, and Orion is kind of all about the first turn. And then if you put that with Praha, it's like you're not going to have any buffs versus this team if the AI works out, you know? So for me, like buff stripping is really important, or having like a really strong immunity like Wusa and the other one with like armor defense. So I think this one doesn't have obvious damage dealers, but it's meant to sort of outpace the speed of the enemy, just like the Vero Bella Verd one is. But this one's a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive in stripping buffs, and a better heal, more stuns, I think, because all three of these guys stun. So Joltan stuns on his two, Praha is Despair, and Orion has that stun on his three, right? So
Yep.
um, it's like a lockdown, heal, buff removal, fast comp that's meant to sort of kill something and outpace the enemy.
Gotcha. And if people don't have Praha, but maybe they were fortunate enough to get Jultan or an Orion, is there any other healer that you would kind of throw in there to try to make it work, or is it just one of those things where when you're trying to look at all aspects of what you're bringing, Praha is just the one that fits the best?
Hello?
Yep, I'm with you.
Oh, lost you for a second there. I
Yep,
think this
yep. Lost
this.
connection, and
Oh,
you can't see the screen anymore, right?
yep.
Okay, hold on. Uh, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So did you catch the last question?
I don't
Okay.
remember what.
So the question, you probably, I think you got disconnected right when I was saying it. So basically my question was, looking at your second team,
Yeah.
you got yourself, Jutan, Orion, and Praha. Obviously Praha is extremely rare.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that do have the Joltan Orion combo. Now, do you think that Praha is just the one that kind of fits the best role in there as a third person with the healer, since you're trying to get the buff and whatnot, or is there a way to incorporate maybe a different healer that people might have and still kind of yield some more wins there? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think anything here that is super speedy, like over 200 speed, and is either really offensive, like I don't know, I can't think of anything right now, actually. Okay, like say an Escher or something. Even if Escher is plus 50 speed, he can sort of act here as also a healer, a buff remover, and he's got like a huge nuke to follow up on Joltan. So what I would do with like an Escher, Joltan Escher, or Joltan Gorgo even, which we saw in Nitwitz's defense, is to have him follow up right after Joltan. Because Joltan is ideally going to armor break something. And without Praha, it kind of leaves you vulnerable to immunity, like a Chloe buff. But I think Escher also strips buffs, so anything that can kind of follow up on Joltan and Orion's armor break is great.
Gotcha. And then, last but not least, on this particular team, since again I Joltan was one of those units that gets widely criticized as, probably not the biggest one to go with regards to defense or whatnot, but you're making it work for you. When it comes to this team, it's obviously adamant that you're using a very very speedy step all the way through. If you were to talk about a person using a Brownie Magician combo with like a Jolton or whatnot, are you gonna kind of use that same concept of trying to match um, the Orion to where his your speed on Jolton is about 70% of Orion speed, so they can go right away, or are you just trying to make your Jolton speedy in general and then synergizing Jolton with your second damage dealer whatnot?
Yeah, I think it's really key to just synergize your speeds. Even if you have to lower your max speed on Orion by even 10, having that no gap space between your armor breakers and your follow up, or your ATB booster and then your damage dealer, uh, yeah, that's really key. So my arena defense, for instance, is like Theo, Praha, Orion, and Chloe. And it's set up so that Chloe goes first, and the rest are kind of slow, right? They're not 250, 260 or anything. But once Praha goes, there's like a one speed difference between Orion and then Theo. So the goal is to just strip the buffs, get down armor break, and nuke something in one turn. And I think that concept still applies to Guild Wars. So, you know, matching speeds is a lot more important, I think, than having like the highest possible speed Bernard or the highest possible speed Orion.
True, true. All right, cool. Thank you, sir. Moving on. Oh, all right, fail. We got Ty Cut already in there. Let's get him one more time.
Oh,
There we go. We got, how you say it? Hayata?
Hiata, I guess.
Hiata.
Yeah, yeah, pretty solid. I don't know. Notice like we have a lot of Theos and Orions on our defense. Just because I think in top 50 Guild Wars, those two are really really annoying, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who can't actually hit water defenses. Like if there's two water defenses, they aren't able to hit them, especially if it's Theo and if the other one is, I don't know, Galleon or Orion or something. Because there just aren't that many great wind units that aren't like this Eladriel and Ritesh, which are kind of rare.
Right.
And you can't bring like Lucian versus Theo ever. You can't bring
Right.
like most of the Nat Wind fours are pretty bad for like anything, like attacking specifically. So having water on your defense is like really strong right now. I'd say it's almost meta. Like the Theos, Galleons, Orions, Camillas, those things are really hard to deal with just because there's not like a hard counter to them.
Right.
So yeah, this first one is pretty obvious. There's just two massive healers. I don't think it has any immunity. Theo might be Will, I'm not sure. But even if you were to try bomb this, the Eladriel can get turns and res and heal, and of course Ritesh can heal and armor break. So it's like a well-rounded, really rare defense, I guess. Not a lot of people have Eladriel and Ritesh, so
Cool, cool.
yeah. But his second one is kind of crap, I think.
He's so hard on the guys. He's so hard on.
Well, I think he like blew his load, so to speak, on the first defense, and then for the second one, it's like there's not much left except picking like the standard kind of generally good defense units. But Escher and Orion just don't make sense to me. I always want a speed lead with Orion, and here I don't know. Chloe doesn't make sense either because like she's not going to get focused, and even if you fanatic buff, it doesn't really matter because this team is going to outpace her buff, and then Escher is open again, and it only takes a few hits to kill him. So
Yep.
yeah, overall, like not the best defense, but hey, if you got it, I guess
Yeah. You
make it
got
work.
it. Make it work. There you go. All right. Oh, it looks like that's our last one. So we got to move on
Cool.
back to the main screen here. While I'm showing all these regular units right here, we got a lot of things that have come along to the game and made some changes for the better, for the worse. But obviously, everybody has their opinion on that. Considering the game as it is today, if there was one thing to change, what would it be and why for you?
Oh man. Um, I'd really like to be able to reorder. So, this patch just introduced like drag and drop, but I thought that was drag and drop your selection team, not drag and drop like into the slots that attack. Because if you're in the pre-battle screen and you're trying to select monsters, you have to scroll left and right, and it's ordered by I think it's ordered by how or when you found the monster, right? So
Okay.
your earliest monsters are on the left, and your like latest monsters are on the right. And for people with like 40 or 60 monsters, it's like a pain to have to scroll, 40 slots to the end to get to Theo. So I don't know, just some usability stuff like that. Of course, no more crit animations. Yeah.
That would be nice. Yeah, definitely. And then let's see here. How about the biggest epic fail story you got known to date? Hit me with it.
Oh god, that was pretty recently actually. I think it was the last TOA hard. I brought Hua and I was fighting for like an hour on TOA hard 100, and I asked lead chat like after an hour um, if my Hua had violent runes, and she didn't. She had three focus runes and three violent runes.
Oh,
So I did wind up beating the stage, but it took probably like I don't know 45 minutes longer than it had to, and yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, the we had a couple of guests. I think one that did the same thing where we were looking through the units and we had like he was supposed to be like a rage blade, but he had three rage runes and three blade runes. But it's it can happen to anybody, especially on rune removal day when you switch around everything. It's always
Oh,
scary.
oh
We got
yeah, rune removal is always like the worst because it also happens during guild battles. So it's like you gotta rush to switch out your monsters and switch them to like usable builds. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Well, moving on to the end of the video, I want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and dish out some shout outs as well as call out anybody that you would love to see in the video in the future.
Yeah, I guess shout outs to Fury, my guild, and Furier, like our sister guild. I probably don't think I'd be playing without those guys, so they're cool to be around. And I don't know, I'd love to see some guys from Kindred Saints on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
we just had Malfedge. I
yeah,
think it was yesterday, and then we got another guest from
yeah.
Kindred States coming on for the Thanksgiving weekend. So I mean, obviously the by the time we watch this video, they're gonna already know who it is. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because one of the guys uses a speed bomb team, which is really cool, and another one uses like a speed Shimate Kabila team, which I think is really interesting. And that's for arena, but it's something that I thought was pretty innovative. So
Awesome. All
yeah,
right. Well, sounds good, my man. Again, shout out to everybody that's been following the Educate and Dominate since the beginning. Thank you guys for your support. And again, thank you, Cognix, for coming on board. I know you're a super busy man, so I appreciate all that you do for the community, sir.
thanks for inviting me.
Anytime, anytime. All right, guys, that is it. We are done. It's your boy Childish and Cognix with Childish Plays checking out. Take care, and we'll see you next time. We are out.